Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this press conference in London to announce what I still can't really believe. I'm sure many of you are sitting here can't quite believe it as well. Eubank Jr. against Ben. October the 8th, O2 Arena, live and exclusive on DAZN pay-per-view. I wish we had 7 O2 arenas. This fight is an absolute monster. The biggest in British boxing, perhaps one of the biggest ever in the sport in this country. I'm delighted to be sitting here alongside our co-promoter Callie Sowland and Wasserman Boxing. Thanks to Calla, Team Eubank, Team Ben for coming together to make this iconic fight. This fight, so many people at this table, and Calla not quite as much, but he grew up with it as well. We all grew up with this rivalry. The greatest rivalry in British boxing. In 1990, I was 11 years old. I remember one of the greatest nights for our family, my family, when Chris Eubank Jr., Chris Eubank Sr. stopped Nigel Benn to win the world middleweight title in Birmingham. 3 years later, I remember the night so clearly, a hazy night at Old Trafford. Over 45,000 people, 15 million people on terrestrial TV watched the rematch. Now, almost 30 years on, we get to see part 3. An incredible moment. These two step up for what will be, as I said, the biggest fight in British boxing. Before we go...
Yo, 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 what's good, YouTube? What's good? It's Stormybman, and I am back welcoming you to the Friday Night Chop Session with Stormybman for this Friday, August 12th, 2022. And this is number 163 in the series of Friday Night Chop Sessions. And we're simply calling this one Fight. Keeping up with the theme that I've had going pretty much this week on the sport of boxing and simplifying my matters by just overemphasizing these men in the sport today just need to fight. So much talk, so much social media, so much calling names, so much of clout chasing, so much posturing, but not enough licks being passed in the ring, not enough of the bouts being signed and taking place to our enjoyment. So it's time to turn the heat up on them, time to put their feet to the fire and hold these fighters accountable. I opened up this evening with a little bit of the soundbite from today's presser that was released, announcing the October bout between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn, sons of the men who fought a tremendous rivalry in the 90s. The two men, there was no love lost between Chris Eubank Sr. and Nigel Benn. They were the Ali and Frazier of the UK, though it be in the middleweight and super middleweight divisions. And they did not disappoint. There was a lot of back and forth. There was a lot of insults. There was a lot of action in the ring. And these men did it the way that they could at that time. And I must also admit that UK boxing was at a premium at that time in those weight divisions. So these men were class. Now, a generation removed, their sons are going to face off against one another. Although there be a size difference between the two, Chris Eubank Jr. has been campaigning as of late at super middleweight, and Conor Benn has been competing at welterweight. They have agreed upon a catch weight, and we will see what will happen. But that soundbite that you heard that I released a moment ago was courtesy their press conference released today, in which Ben actually spoke continuously about his concerns about the catch weight that they'll meet at. He's not very happy with that because it's going to put him at a disadvantage, he says, in an area that he said that he hasn't weighed in at since he was 18 years old. We'll see what happens. But welcome, everybody. Smash the like button as you come into the building. Glad that you're here with me. Glad to be here with you as we get down into another chop session. Got a few things to talk about this evening, and that's one of them. And I thought that I would just open up with a little bit of that soundbite, okay? But we do have some other fare that we will discuss. Want to take a quick moment out to go to the chat and see who we got in the building. See who's out there, man. Smash that like button, people. Mr. Mechanical starting it off saying, OG Stormy B, man, salute. Mangus Allen is back saying, what's up, man? William Old School is out there saying, salute, my brother. And y'all smash the like button when entering the building. 704 Joe in the building saying, Seafood Sensei, yes sir. Art Man Boxing, what's good with you, Art Man? Appreciate you stopping in. Who else we got here? Antonio MMA saying, good evening, Sensei. And William says, Eddie Germ, the used car salesman. Yeah, man, he's pretty horrible, isn't he? TS Boxing is good with us this evening. What's good with you, TS? Antonio says, I don't know what the hell is going on in boxing. None of us do, man. We don't have a clue. And everybody else is greeting one another at the moment. Hey, man, I'll tell you. Eddie Hearn, we need to talk about him a little bit. His legacy on boxing is not going to be very good. He's had a negative, adverse effect on fighters' careers. Name fighters who have had potential. Name fighters who were looking at an upside. And he just has harmed people with the decisions that he's made. Fights that should have taken place that didn't, he stood in the way of. Fights that should not have taken place that he put fighters in the midst of. All you have to do for a mighty example of what I'm speaking about when we talk about Hearn is putting Kell Brook in against Triple G. That was one of the most ridiculous situations that I could imagine. And Kell Brook was the worst to wear after that situation. From what I understand, I don't have this on any grand accord, but it's a rumor that I had heard that he and Brook don't get along well at all nowadays, and I can understand why. Kell Brook was a strong welterweight champion who had defeated Sean Porter for the I think it was the WBC belt. And no, forgive me, was it the IBF belt? But anyway, it was for one of the welterweight titles. I think it was the IBF. Ed Hearn thought it would be a great idea because Brook was considering moving up in weight, maybe to 154. Eddie Hearn thought it was a great idea to feed him to the lion at the moment, which was Triple G. And jumping up 2 weight classes from welterweight to face Triple G, who was at that time still in his perpetual youth as a champion. He battered Brook. Brook suffered a broken eye socket in that fight. But the skills that he brought with him on that night kind of gave a revelation about what Triple G would have problems with, because Brook was doing very well against Triple G, but the strength and power difference made the difference in the fight. And that was the beginning of the downfall for Kell Brook, because we know that later when he returned to welterweight and he went on to take on Earl Spence in a great fight that they had, and Spence broke the other eye socket along with taking his title while he was over there defending in the UK. But Hearn has done some things consistently in the sport of boxing that aligns himself with that type of bad deal. We will never forget that Hearn and Matchroom Boxing, when DAZN gave him money to come over here to try to recruit fighters, and he made the infamous statement about it being a transatlantic takeover. When people heard those words, they were not only insulted, but it lit a fire of resentment against whatever it was that Hearn had up his crummy little sleeve. Fighters were turning him down faster than you can turn down your bed covers when you're getting in bed to go to sleep. But nonetheless, he continued to throw good money after bad when he was overpaying fighters to fight on his app and to fight under his promotional banner. All the while, the fights that should have been made, like AJ versus Wilder, when they both were the champions of the heavyweight divisions, and between the two of them could have made an undisputed battle. The fight against AJ and a possible showdown with King Kong Ortiz, another fight where Hearn signed King Kong Ortiz, who was one of the mandatories for the titles that AJ had. They signed him and then put him on the shelf, keeping him out of the graces of AJ. And even when King Kong Ortiz was found to go for a fight with Deontay Wilder, and he failed the test for a blood pressure medication, and it halted his opportunity at Deontay Wilder. But Eddie Hearn jumped in on that and was calling for him to be suspended and everything. All of this was being done because he didn't want King Kong to fight AJ, because King Kong was definitely a threat to AJ. Ed Hearn has been around people. I mean, there is so much, and I'm not going to spend my entire show talking about this man and the detriment to the sport of boxing that he's been. But just recently, Joshua Buatsi, who's being also promoted by Hearn was trying to look to put him into a fight in there against Dimitri Bivol. Buatsi's not ready for Bivol. He's not even ready for the guy that is the number one contending challenger for Bivol, and that would be Gilbert Zurdo Rodriguez. Huh? Listen, man. Hearn needs to go away. The man is horrible. It was mentioned in the chat here just a moment ago about how toxic he is. Toxicity is not even a great way to describe him. You've heard of the Midas touch? Well, whatever is the difference, the opposite of the Midas touch, because the Midas touch is like everything you touch turns to gold. Well, it appears that when Hearn is touching things, they turn to boo-boo. Yeah. There have been some bad promoters out there. Frank Warren, Bob Arum. Huh? And then there have been some others who have just been horrible. And now he's looking to do this with Ben and Eubank Jr. And the thing about it is, young Ben is doing well right now, and all he needs is a couple of more fights against quality opposition at welterweight to put him in consideration of being a top contender. But no, he's gonna, just like he did with Kell Brook, eschew away that opportunity and put Ben in a fight that he just doesn't need at this time. Because if Eubank defeats Ben, it's a tremendous setback for Conor Benn. If Ben defeats Chris Eubank, does that mean he's stuck at a higher weight where he's not going to get a title shot against these killers that are up there at the higher weight where he doesn't really normally campaign? I mean, this doesn't make much sense at all. If it makes sense to you, family, please tell me. I mean, this is ridiculous. And it's a round robin of foolishness through Matchroom and Hearn. Going back to the chat for a moment. Quite a few people have popped in since I read off the last names. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Please smash that like button as you come in. William says, I can see Eddie Jern putting two mailmen in the ring and saying that these are the two baddest mailmen in the business and the biggest fight of this generation. Antonio says, there's nothing on the line but mailboxes, man. Antonio also says, that dude Eddie Hearn is toxic. That was who said that. Okay, I got you, bro. And AJ, Boo Boo, and that one guy who got knocked out by Nick Ball, I believe. William says, Antonio, I will never forget how he deprived us of Wilder versus AJ for Undisputed. I will always hate him for that. Each and every boxing fan who would like Undisputed in any weight class should hate him for that. Those two men were right there at the time and prime when that fight was its hottest. And it didn't matter who would win. We just wanted to see it. And he took that off the table, people. As if he was God Almighty and he knew better than anyone. And the deception was he was doing a good thing. Letting it marinate. He wasn't allowing it to marinate. He didn't want the fight whatsoever. Antonio says, yeah, Kel don't mess with Eddie. Man, I heard he in a live about that because of what that Triple G fight. Yeah, PGH Big Dog in the building. What's good with you, PGH? He says, I despise Eddie Jern. Ruined Wilder versus AJ. Destroyed Farmer and Boo Boo career. Hey, man, thank you for reminding me about Tevin Farmer, bro. Tevin Farmer, like a couple of years back, was the busiest fighter in boxing. But Ed Hearn and his way of doing things just totally took Tevin Farmer out of the picture, man. And we won't even talk about Andre, because Andre was always making bad business moves. But when he went over there to those people, he might as well have just retired. Because though they had the fighters around him, no one pressed for those fighters to fight Andre. They had Triple G, they had Canelo. Both over there. Both right there in the weight. And they would not make the fight. And they overpaid both men tremendously. They even gave Triple G a percentage of investment in DAZN. Are you kidding me? Paying Canelo Alvarez $45 to $50 million for a single bout against a sparring partner. However, they can't find money to pay other fighters like Earl Spence and Terrence Crawford, which is the biggest fight in boxing right now. But Canelo can make $50 million fighting a sparring partner. How is that possible? It's ridiculous, man. My man Scrapbook Boxing is in the building. He says, shout to my brother Stormy. I've been very busy, but always thinking of you, brother. Keep your firework. I appreciate that, Scrap. He says, peace to everyone that supports you. Much love always. Have a great show. Thank you, Scrapbook. Much appreciated, and great work that you've been doing as well, bro. Antonio says, man, he might ruin Ben completely. If he does, there's off of this fight that's coming. If Ben turns out unfortunate there should be a campaign to get this man pulled out of the sport. I don't want to see another fighter suffer at the mismanagement and handling by Ed Hearn, man, and Matchroom Boxing. I don't want to see it. I do not want to see that. Antonio says Ben should be fighting a legit former champion like a Keith Thurman or even a young Mario Barrios. What the hell is Mario doing and why Ben can't get that boy? Diana's out there saying, Stormy, salute to you, Sensei. Family salute. Salute to you, Diana. Good to see you. Who else is out there? She says salute to all the family. And she's also saying, I can say this. I'm glad Glitter Boots is getting his ass laid out Saturday. I do believe it's going to be a stoppage. Glitter Boots. Man. Who else we got? Jay Gibson in the building. He's saying salutes to Stormybman and the family. Salute to you. And Scrapbook is being saluted by William and Jay. And PGH is saluting Jay. Man. Oh man. Ed Hearn he's a poison, man. He's a poison. And we have to find a better way. We have to find a better way to get through the sport. This man and what he's doing is really harming the sport. Big time. Big time. Trying to get something queued up here. I don't know, family. I don't know. I just don't like what we're seeing. There's so much good boxing on the table or left off the table that these men are just, they're being used like pawns on the chessboard with no real moves being made. No rooks, no bishops, no knights. Man, what is going on? Antonio says, Sensei, it comes off like Eddie doesn't have any agenda. He's just making fights he wants to see. Man, how can I deny that? Diana says, yes, he is, but as we watch closely, we're going to see a lot of changes. This Daniel Kinahan is going to stop a lot of BS. Yeah. Man. I don't know, man. I don't know. But we'll return to the Ben and Eubank scenario in a bit. I want to move on to some other news that we have in the sport. You know, like to talk about boxing news a little bit because you just never know, man. You just never know. But let me say this about Ed Hearn, who is showing his horns even more with another fight on the horizon. And that fight happens to be the upcoming rematch between Alexander Usyk and Anthony Joshua. A lot of you people may forget that just before the first fight, there was a service announcement that AJ has signed a lifetime deal with Matchroom. He goes out there and gets his dinner handed to him by Alexander Usyk. Now, AJ, who had all those belts, remember he was unified champion, gave him up to Usyk like Usyk had a pistol. What would Eddie Hearn and Matchroom do with Joshua's lifetime contract with him no longer being the world champ with all those belts? I'll tell you what they decided he was going to do. He was going to get his ass back in there in a rematch and fight Usyk right away. Yeah. And with that being said, this rematch that was being announced, in the interim, AJ went to the US to review an assortment of trainers and coaches to see what he was going to do with, his career going forward, going into this rematch. Was he going to change trainers or whatever? But this is the same guy who, when Lennox Lewis suggested that he come to the States to, brush up on his skill set and fight some Western fighters so he could, gain some experience and everything, AJ remarked that Lennox was hating on him and he was a clown. If Lennox, who retired undisputed champion, is a clown, then what do you call AJ, who is a part of one of the biggest circuses in boxing? What do you call him? No tune-up match. Nothing to show or put on display that he's learned something from Coach Garcia, who never trained a heavyweight before. In the biggest fight of his life. Because also remember, lifetime contract with Matchroom. Does that mean that even when he's 50 years old, they can call him out of retirement and say, get your butt in the ring and fight? I don't know. But they making him get right back in there with Usyk right away. They even trying to pull Usyk out of conflict, world conflict, that he and his country are going through at this time. We can't make this stuff up, people. What's going to happen? I don't know. I'm pausing because I'm just letting this soak in for myself. This negative impact that Ed Hearn and Matchroom Boxing have had on the sport. And it's sending rippling waves through the sport because at one time, Matchroom's influences were the heavyweight division because of AJ and everything, but this has gone on through other divisions, man. Kell Brook, the welterweight division, the light heavyweight division with Buatsi, the super middleweight division and middleweight division with Triple G and Canelo. I mean, my goodness. Matchroom needs to get the hell out of the sport of boxing. Diana says, yep, Stormy, and that's why I'm so passionate. Eddie and people like him are messing up these kids' lives. Yes, that's true. Mango Juice 007 says, what up, Sensei? What's good with you? Antonio says, Usyk looking good for this rematch. He about to pummel AJ, and then we don't have to see AJ anymore. I wouldn't be surprised if AJ lost a rematch. Hearn be calling for a trilogy. Diana says, Glitter Boots also reaping what he did to Deontay. Now he's going to be locked out. His own words cursed him. 704 Joe says, Usyk gonna kick his ass again. AJ is broken. William Old says, I have a feeling that the tainted water will catch up with Usyk for this fight. It happened to Wilder, and I can see the same thing happening to Usyk. Hey man, now you just never know. And there's a reason why Hearn likes to take these fights like that over to Saudi. Why? Canahan, I believe, has some serious connections in Saudi too. Diana says there's nothing AJ can do. If he comes forward, he gets laid out early. If he waits, he gets his head beat back. If he runs, he gets caught by an A1 boxer. It's a wrap. That's with everything being on the up and up, Diana. But I don't believe everything is going to be on the up and up, which is why Hearn pressed for this fight to be over there. Those people don't give a damn about boxing. But there's some funny business going on over there. You can believe that. You can believe that 1000%. But Hearn, right? Hearn is all up in this involvement, man. Got to get that guy out of there. I don't know. Something to think about, though, people. Something to think about. Let's take a moment and revisit one of my moments in the Friday night chop session, where we get a chance to talk about the Thunderous Top 10. You know, we haven't mentioned these guys in a little while, but I made some changes to the Thunderous Top 10. Some of you may be shocked by it. Some of you may even support it. But there's a method to the madness that I bring, I tell you all the time. My Thunderous Top 10 has changed. The thing that you see here, the Thunderous Top 10 list, is now changed. There is no number one in my Thunderous Top 10 at this time. If Errol Spence is able to fight, he may claim that vacant role. It was once occupied by Terrence Bud Crawford. But as being a man of my word, I have ejected Terrence Bud Crawford off of this list. I have my reasons. There are other people who may feel and support as good and have their reasons for doing so. But seeing that he could be a guy who could heavily influence the sport by making the biggest fight in boxing happen between he and Errol Spence, and has not been able to deliver that. And I do believe that there are external reasons why that haven't been disclosed publicly. But I'll just say this. Someone who has that type of influence, or negative positive influence, and has become a detriment, should be moved and ejected. And that's what has happened. That doesn't mean that the fight won't take place between he and Spence. But even if it does, and he loses to Spence, he will not find himself back on this list. If he happens to defeat Spence. And remember, there was a time when I was stating that I supported him possibly being the victor in that fight. But you know what? If he's victorious, he doesn't make it back on this list. The man has gone out of his way to make bad decisions in the sport regarding his career, regarding taking on opponents and everything like that. So it's like, I'm done. I'm a tough love customer here when it comes down to this sport, man. And if you can't walk the straight and narrow here in the sport of boxing, Stormy ain't gonna placate matters by patting you on your back, saying good old boy and all of that. Forget that. You out of there. Huh? You out of there. Notice how I ejected Jamal Charlo out of there, who was once on this list. Mel fell off of my list for a short time simply because of his attitude and how he was treating the boxing public, fans, people who buy tickets to your fights, cussing them out, throwing their cell phones on the ground and stuff like that. That's why he fell out of the graces. But I couldn't deny him for becoming an undisputed world champion. But he's walking a very fine line there. But I can't deny his accomplishments. But as far as Bud Crawford, he, like Demetrius Andrade, have done so much to harm themselves. And there are people who still blindly support these guys. Foolishness. You guys are foolish in supporting that mess. It's like, how is someone going to get better if you don't hold them accountable? And if you hold them accountable and they still don't want to get better, to hell with them. Lock the door and keep them outside. The vacant space allows someone who's already on the list to move up, and means that there is now a spot as low as number 10 that you can bump yourself in there. So in this last half of the year, maybe someone will be able to do something to put themselves in a greater position to do what I'm speaking of. Be better. Diana says, I'm praying. Listen, the block is so hot that Eddie will have to answer. Yeah, I support it all the way, she says. William says, Antonio, think about it. Why would Eddie Germ shove AJ back in there with Usyk, knowing that Usyk will be much better prepared for the rematch? Drew Titan is out there. He's saying, yes, sir. Salute to you, Drew. William says, Stormy B-Man, if AJ loses again, Eddie Germ will throw him to the Lions just to get some of the money back for that contract. Yeah. Winston Lee in the building again, saying peace, bro. Stormy, peace to everyone in the chat. Welcome back, Winston. Gervonta Davis has fallen in this list because he has not elected to make the fights that the fans want to see him fight. People wouldn't mind seeing him fight Ryan Garcia. That's a fight that's very winnable for him. But for whatever reason, that fight isn't being made. Now, people can say that Ryan don't want to make it or whatever. Whatever. I don't really care. But the next time Tank Davis fights a brother, somebody wake me up. Artur Beterbiev has found himself at the midway point of the list because with 18 knockouts and 18 fights, he has proven himself to be a 100% deliverer of action in his matches. And when he goes away, when he's not fighting, you don't hear anything about him until it's time for him to fight again. That's the best part of being a fighter like Artur Beterbiev. We don't care about all that other stuff. We just want to see what you're doing in the ring. Devin Haney is still trying to find willing subjects. Now that he's undisputed, the belts don't matter to anybody anymore. They don't care. When other people held the belts, they dangled them over him like a carrot over a horse and pulling a cart. Listen, man. Devin Haney must be a bad man. They just don't want to get in the ring with him. Teofimo ran to another division. Ryan is running to another division. Vasily ran into the arms of franchise protection, witness or witless protection. Cambozo's tried to keep him at a distance or whatever until he just ran out of road. It's time for people to start seeing some of these fighters for who and what they truly are. With the likes of Stephen Fulton and Shakur Stevenson on this list, we're going to find out very quickly through the rest of this year what a thunderous top 10 fighter is all about. Because these men get the job done. And young Jesse Rodriguez, another victory or two like he had against what we saw against Sor Runvisai, will definitely solidify his position there. It's time for boxing to really be looked at through the microscope. There are too many fighters out here who are not doing what they need to be doing in the sport, people. Too many. And I tell you, if you guys think that I enjoy saying these things like this, I really don't. I just want to see quality boxing matches. I want to see these guys go out there and fight the best. Diana says, I think Tank is feeling it though. Did you see his recent tweets, Stormy? Deep. No, Diana, I don't have Twitter, so I haven't seen. You can write in the chat what he was talking about. You know, nobody updated me or anything, so I'm not aware of whatever it is that he's dealing with. Winston Lee says, belts don't matter, and little Rai Rai is chasing an IBO belt. Man, Ryan doesn't want any parts of the real champions because he recognizes that they're all better than he and that he doesn't have what he needs to have to be a world champion. They're trying to set it up that the cushion is there for his big fall. Okay? And he's going to fall. He's going to come crashing down because his approach to the sport of boxing isn't professional. He reminds me of I saw this Bruce Lee exploitation film where it was a guy playing Bruce Lee on a movie set, and a guy who was a big fan of Bruce Lee, played by Samo, he was like on the movie set watching the guy imitate Bruce Lee, and he was like, that's not how Bruce Lee would do it. And so when the guy playing Bruce Lee was, you know, kind of like putting slander on Bruce Lee's name, Samo got mad at the guy, right, and beat him up on the movie set. But the funny part about that was this. That's Ryan. You know, Ryan is pretending to be a world-class boxer, but he's really not. He was probably a good amateur and everything, but as a world-class fighter, he's not where he would need to be, and nor is his focus there. But they're trying to market that to the people. Nah. Diana says, Tank said, I'm feeling pain. And then said, I must go forward. He feeling it. Man, listen, the way I know he feeling it is he takes his pen and signs a contract and faces off one of these other fighters. That's what he need to do. Face Devin Haney, face Shakur Stevenson, face Teofimo, face Lomachenko. Fight somebody. That's the name of the show tonight. Fight. These guys come up with every excuse not to get their butts in the ring and compete. It's a shame. These men are out here like that. Devin Haney is walking around here with the undisputed titles, and he chased that down, people. He gave up so much just for the opportunity to have those belts. And they kept trying to keep it from him. If he didn't accomplish anything, he showed the establishment that when you bet on yourself, when you believe in yourself, you reserve the right to strut when you prove your naysayers wrong. But Devin hasn't strutted. He hasn't even said, I told you so. He says, I wanted my opportunity and I snatched the opportunity and took advantage of it. Class. And guess who's right there with him? His dad. So all dads are not bad, huh? All dads don't ruin the homes, huh? Bill has shown his son how to stand up. With what he had to face, the adversities to go over there in Australia and to come out with those belts, that's a man. Till the 11th hour, they were still trying to take that away from him. Still. People need to wake up, man. But you want to celebrate Ryan? He of no substance. Tank, he of no heart. And when I say that, that doesn't mean like he don't have the heart to get in the ring. But he don't have a heart to stand up to these people that he knows that are holding him back from being better than what he is right now. They're holding him back. What good is an eagle in a glass case, huh? A live eagle in a glass case. You gotta let them fly, bro. You gotta let them spread their wings. Tank doesn't want that little man, Floyd doesn't want that little man to exceed him. And he's going to do everything he can to hold him back. Salute to G5. I see you out there, bro. He says, salute, Sensei, Stormybman, and chat family. Salute to you, bro. Antonio says, by the time Tank get in the ring with someone, I think it'll be Frank Martin, and boy, it's going to be ugly. Listen, you can believe that Derek James is preparing that young man to do his best against whomever it's going to be. Whomever. Diana says, facts, Stormy. 704, Joe says, G5, Dallas, Texas. Listen. All Tank has to do is fight people. That's all. He's going to make the money he's going to make. He's going to fill out stadiums where he goes. It's just a matter of comparing his wares, what he brings, with the other guys. It's not even a matter of he ain't good enough or he's suspect and this and that. It's just, it's time. It's time more than anything. But that Mayweather organization, they're holding him back. In the meantime, they're going to make Devin Haney fight Kambosos again to honor the contract. Not because Kambosos deserves it or whatever, but because they painted themselves in that corner. And that is what it is now. They're bad. That's totally their bad. William, I'm with you 1,000 on that. Tank was in such a power play position, he could have become a free agent like Haney and just fight wherever he wants on a fight-by-fight deal. And they would be paying him up the wazoo because he does put butts in the seats. He has that equalizer. And he's exciting. Let me tell you this. If Devin Haney had Tank Davis's equalizer, the lightweight division and possibly the super lightweight or junior welterweight divisions would fold their tents. They will fold. G5 says cook. Antonio says Tank wants the money, man. I'm convinced. I don't know that Tank wants the money. I think that is the influence of the Mayweather team. Don King used to keep Tyson distracted with money, women, and drugs. Give him what he wants, what his heart desires are, so that he'll stay loyal to you. And not loyal like, oh, I trust you, but meaning like he won't go nowhere because he can get his goods right here. He can get everything he wants right here. Why should I have to go across the street? But who does Tyson in the end have to blame for that? Himself. Right? There you go. The great thing about this, people, is this. And even though boxing is in a bad place at this particular time, it won't be forever, because this generation too shall pass. There are already fighters on the cusp who don't have that same mindset. They have different values. And some of these promoters like De La Hoya, Mayweather, Roy Jones, when they've moved on, because there are other young fighters coming up, they can see what's happening now and they be like, you know what, I don't want to be a part of that. And they're going to find their way. They'll find their niche. And they will elevate beyond where these guys are. Like I said before, and I mentioned it on a different stream, I mentioned it on a different platform. When history is written on these guys of today, a lot of them will not be remembered. They will not be appreciated. And no one's going to be checking for them. Take the fight that was being talked about by Ryan Garcia against Tank Davis. A good fight because of the names of the guys. You'd like to see Ryan get shut up. Some people want to see Tank get knocked out. But Ryan is now over there looking for maxi pads from the UK. Now, the thing about that is this. People will say, well, who is that guy? And they'll say things to you like, well, he's unknown, but he's a threat. Because they want to make that fight. But what about the guy who had a name and you're not fighting him? You see the stupidity here? They'll make the boxing public think like There's no sensibility in what you're saying. You're going to go fight a guy that nobody knows, but a guy that people know, you're not going to fight him. And Teofimo Lopez has said things like, oh, he doesn't bring anything to the table. He hasn't done anything. Really, Tio? Really? But you fighting a guy this weekend. Pedro Campa? Who hell knows that guy, right? But you're talking about the other guys that people want you to fight. They haven't done anything. What the hell has Pedro done? This is where we are. Diana says Tank just don't know how to stand up to a manipulator, a straight, malignant narcissist. Yes. Boots, Bam, Frank, etc. Real ones. Yeah, and you're going to see over the next year or so who makes their moves. You're going to see. 704 Joe says, oh, I'm sorry, G5 says 100. 704 Joe says, no, Sensei. Blame Tank. I used to think it was all Mayweather. I blame Tank. His trainers also. Tank said he was leaving. He was never leaving. Yeah. Diana says, I'm disappointed in T.O. because T.O. does have talent. Shaking my head. He's wasting it on emotions and his dad. That's why you don't put no stock in him. Diana, don't put stock in those guys. Those are the very ones that will let you down. And guess what? There's a certain consistency in that letdown. When the lights are their brightest, that's when they fade to black. Remember that. You heard it from Stormy. When the lights are their brightest, that's when they fade to black. William says, Stormy, there's a reason why we remember the old school fighters. They all fought each other. Fighters today will be forgotten because they didn't fight the best. Absolutely. Absolutely. Just think about it. This is the easiest fight that could have been made for the most money for either man. And Ryan follows the textbook outline of the fighters that Tank has been fighting, even more so than Mario Barrios. Why do you think this fight is not going to happen? It's a shame. Sometimes, if you just be quiet, you can hear something in the silence. If it's about money, This is probably the most money that Tank can make fighting this guy right here. And definitely for this guy right here, it would be the biggest payday ever in his career. It ain't about the money. It's about illusions, delusions, smoke screens and mirrors, and robbery and theft. That's what they're trying to do to you. On a consistent basis. Very consistent. Salute to Sheena, who's fell into the building, coming in with those channel emojis. What's good with you, Sheena? Thank you for that. Appreciate. Always happy to see the channel emojis. Let me remind everybody about my little channel giveaway here, man. The channel giveaway bundle. I almost forgot to talk about this at the beginning of the show, so I'll just bring it in right now. We got the channel giveaway bundle. It's a 3-movie pack, which has 3 Shaw Brothers classics: Killer Constable, Flag of Iron, and Monkey Kung Fu. Yeah, for the Kung Fu lovers out there. But this channel giveaway, again, they will lead to other giveaways. We got to get through this. All you have to do to participate is to write in on any video content or live stream content comment section. You just write in "enter to win," and that remark will be tallied, and the 50th person, only 50 people, the 50th person to write "enter to win" will win this giveaway bundle. We will have other giveaways in the future, but this is required because we got to crawl before we walk. Huh? Just know we're doing that for everybody out here that's interested in supporting the channel and who may be looking toward other giveaways in the future, such as tickets for upcoming fights, pay-per-views being paid for you, etc. So just know that when you participate in this, you know, it can lead to the other ones, but we got to get through this. Some of you watch my Kung Fu film focuses, so you'll hear me talk about these films on those shows. So look out for it, huh? Be the 50th person. Win you something. Yeah. Man, if you guys didn't catch Junior the Truth this morning, that brother was talking some boxing this morning. Salute to Junior the Truth, man. When he gets into that mode, I can listen to him all day long. Not that I don't listen to other things that he talk about, because Junior is a well-versed man. He's got his irons in a lot of fires, and he's out there. But today he was talking boxing, man. Speaking my language. And he had a wonderful live stream talking about breaking some of the stuff down, man. Yeah. Salute to the brother. So we're going to go back to some of this conversation from the presser earlier, where they were talking about Chris Eubank and Nigel Benn. Let's hear a little bit more on this. because I got some comments. I'll be popping in and out as we listen to some of what was said at this presser to announce their fight coming up in October at the O2.
Go to the fighters. I'm going to pass over to Kalle Sauerland to say a few words again. Kalle, our thanks to you for just making an event that has just absolutely lit up British boxing.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the presser of all pressers. Yes, we've done quite a few big events together, Eddie. I've never had such a negotiation like the last 4 weeks. Many thanks to the CEO of Matchroom, Frank Smith, who has helped very much to make this possible as well. It's been a long, long road. Not as long as some people think. The starting gun was fired a bit early on the deal being closed when we hadn't actually exchanged any contracts yet. But we are dealing with a monster, not a heavyweight world championship, not a unification, not a special grudge match. We're dealing with a family feud. We're dealing with a feud that started on the 18th of November 1990. Eddie touched on it. You know, I feel a bit out here because everyone up here really has been involved in the first fights. I was involved. I fell back in love with boxing thanks to that era. I think that this fight reaches a demographic, a walk of life, people in walks of life that have nothing to do with boxing anymore. The plus 40s, the interest around what happened back then. 18 million, 19 million on terrestrial television, 500 million viewers around the world. I read that this morning on Google. I assume that's true, Eddie. That sounds a little bit like Barry there. But anyways, 500 million viewers around the world for the second fight. You don't need to sell it. But look at the character or the gladiators we have up here. They fought their way out of their father's shadows in their own right. They sit up here now and put it all on the line. Family legacy. I don't think that there's any title, any mantle you can place on it bigger than that. We've called it Born Rivals. I'm sure you all create your own headlines for it, legacy, whatever you want to call it. At the end of the day, there's more at stake on this fight than there is in any other fight I've ever been involved with in 20-something years in boxing. So I think that's the best way I can summarise it.
Thanks, Kalle. You're correct to talk about the demographics of those plus 40s, people who are growing up watching the original rivalry, plus 40s, plus 60s, plus 80s, everybody that watched that rivalry, and now the younger generation that have grown up watching these two great fighters. I'll go to Team Ben firstly. Connor, we'll start with you. Amazing we're sitting here. It was just a conversation in the office, really. We were talking about Thurman, we were talking about Danny Garcia, we were talking about making our move for the world welterweight title. It was just a conversation that came up, and you just said you'd take this fight in a heartbeat. You were true to your word, simply too big to turn down.
I've said that numerous times. You know, this is a fight that makes sense for now. You know, the world title's still the goal, but you can't. This is once in a lifetime. This is a fantasy fight for the British public. I mean, forget about how far apart we were when I first turned pro. The name was still mentioned to me. Eubank was still mentioned to me before I even had my debut fight. So it's just been brewing, and you know, the stars are aligned for October the 8th.
Talk about this rivalry. You obviously grew up in it. You've seen it before. You would have watched the first fight. You see the second fight. They even talked about a third, not even so long ago as well. Talk about a fight being personal. This is personal in different ways. I'm sure you have respect for each other, but this is something that's almost been in you from the day you were born.
Do you know what, as Chris said, you know, we both walk the same road, so you got to respect that, respect all fighters, but when we get in there, we do settle the family business, you know, and I'm taking care of the family business. You know, the last fight was a draw, and you know, it's about time I set the score straight.
Do you see that hunger from Chris Eubank Jr.? He's been in the game longer than you, he's been in those big fights before. We know how ferocious you are, even in interviews, but do you want this more than him? Is that what it comes down to?
I believe so, but at the end of the day, it's not my job to worry about what he thinks or what he does or, you know, his team and how he's approaching this. I worry about what I got to do. And, you know, I've always worried about what I got to do, irrelevant of everyone else and what they're doing. I'm focused on delivering October the 8th. I ain't failed to deliver. I ain't tasted a loss, and I don't plan on taking a loss October 8th.
Yeah, you see, this is what's interesting about this promotion. They're trying to attach it to the dads okay, who fought in the 90s. First fight ended in a 9th round TKO stoppage. Ben was stopped by Chris Eubanks Sr. And Eubanks Sr. suffered a very bad cut in his mouth. I often remark on here when I talk about that fight that he was doing a post-fight interview and he was saying, man, I'm in so much pain. He was like, I think I need an ambulance. I think I need a hospital. You know, he was like really messed up. And he was the one that won the fight. It was a grueling fight. Their rematch was a split decision draw. So that's what Connor, sorry, all these names, was talking about. But these two men are not their dads. Not in the least. They don't fight like them. Well, Connor might fight like his dad a little bit, but Chris Eubank Jr. fights nothing like his dad. Doesn't have the punching power of his dad. Doesn't have the boxing ability of his dad. The rivalry is by name only. It reminds me a little bit of Layla Ali and Jackie Frazier, you know, carrying on the family tradition of their legendary dads. But no, this is a situation where, you know, these men and their paths are on two different types of road. You know, it's like one is gravel, one is dirt, you know, and that doesn't mean that's bad. It's just that, you know, Connor is a welterweight. Chris is a junior middleweight. A super middleweight. And no, a lot in between. This is a lose-lose type scenario. You heard about a win-win or a win-lose or whatever. This is a lose-lose scenario for both men. Because if either man loses this fight, it's a detrimental blow to their career. Either man. If either man wins this fight, what does it really prove outside of one family member got the up on the other in the new generation? And that's, to me, is not enough to attach your name to something of legacy note. That's just my opinion. I mean, no one has to agree with me, but it's like, this is the way I see it. I would rather see Conor Benn taking on the likes of Imatas Stanionis. Someone like that. You know? There's so many welterweights out there that he could really prove himself against. Keith Thurman would be a great matchup for Conor. Keith Thurman would be a great matchup. And as far as Eubank Jr., go fight Danny Jacobs. Go fight Demetrius Andrade. Huh? Canelo ain't going to give you a shot. That's not going to happen. Go out there and fight David Benavidez. But these two men fighting each other, it just doesn't do much for the sport. And as they got to talking during this presser, the more that Eubank Jr. spoke about making weight and stuff for this particular, catch weight fight, he didn't sound very confident. He didn't even sound like he was really into it. I didn't like that. I didn't like it at all. Let's see if I can track on some of that.
On the night.
Excuse me, 1 second, Chris. Whose dad was here holding their hand their whole career? Whole career.
I'm just saying.
Oh no, I don't need nothing for you. Do.
I'm gonna be your father for this fight.
I don't.
I'm gonna take you to school. I'm gonna walk you through the doors. I'm gonna sit you down in class, and I'm gonna stick on you, and I'm gonna teach you every single lesson you need to learn. That's how I see the fight playing out. And if you want to ask me, do I have any advice for him? My advice is
No one asked. No one asked.
Well,
No one asked.
Calais asked, so I'm gonna be polite and answer his
I said
question.
what you got to say. You said what you about to say. No one's asking for your advice, mate.
My advice to Conor is, get sparring partners who are going to really hurt you for the next 8 weeks. That's the best shot you have because, on October 8th, the pain you're going to experience is if you don't get your ass kicked in the gym, then it's just going to be too much of a shock to your system when I put it on you on the night. So get some tough guys in your training camp for this fight, please. That way we can make it more of a competitive event on October 8th.
We're going to ask a question now, Eddie. You might want to ask Conor the same question, because it's clear that there's no real reason for the dislike other than the family names. How was it in your household growing up, the Ben name? Do you remember it as a child? That name, obviously, you were a teenager. What was the, let's say, at the dinner table? Was it mentioned? Was it something that you grew up to hate?
I don't hate anybody. I don't have that.
But the words are quite strong, so it's like it's.
I would never give anybody that type of power over me to hate them. That's a very passionate and strong emotion that I would never give anyone the power over me. I don't even dislike Conor. He hasn't done anything to me personally, so I don't dislike him. But at the same time, this fight is personal. The things that his father put my father through, I can't forgive and I can't forget. And I grew up, I watched the mental stress and the toll it took on him preparing for those fights. I watched the injuries and my mother having to look after him after the fights and him going to hospital and him losing half of his tongue. I watched Nigel tell my father on national TV that he hated him. These are all things that I can't forget, I can't forgive. And this is a fight where both our family names are on the line. And we have to uphold those names to the best of our ability. We're both going to do that. That's where it makes it personal. I can't. Nigel is his shot at his losses being avenged is Conor beating me. That's the only way he can ever avenge those losses. That's the only way he can kind of redeem himself. All right, well, my son beat his son. That will help him sleep better at night. I can't let him get those extra hours of sleep. I can't.
When you listen to this, it's like they're talking like they're harboring the same anger and everything from their dad's disputes, but it's not. Listen, that was your dad's fight. That was your dad's battle. That was your dad's challenge. You can't take on his challenge. He's had it already. You know what I mean? You want to put yourself in his shoes because you're participating in a sport that he participated in, but you're living under different circumstances, which means that you both of you, have psychological issues. You do. man, you're fighting for the wrong reasons. Now, this is coming from someone who has coached people. It's like, sins of our fathers? Really? In boxing? There's a better way to look at your career, and you both are going down a path that is, like I said, it will be detrimental. It is not going to be a shot in the arm for either of you. It will not. Neither of you have set the world on fire on your own, individually, in your accomplishments, which is why you both dutifully need to be in your own divisions, facing the challenges there. That's where people can really hang their hat on what your accomplishments are and either give you the praise or respect that you think may be due or not. A little more.
Do that to my old man. I have to uphold the family name. I have to do what's right. I have to make sure that the Eubank name stays on top of the Ben name. You know, I'm not letting the Ben name even the score.
Connor, on your side, is this a little bit deeper from the Ben side?
You just made it very deep. No, it's not that deep, really, to be honest. You know, Dad had a draw in the last fight. We know you should have won, but you know, that's that. I'm gonna get in there and handle business, and you know, I'll settle the score.
He's definitely taking you lightly in this fight. Believes he can beat you at 60%. Is that mind games? Is that?
I could not really care less, to be honest with you. If he thinks he can beat me at 60%, that's his problem. Has nothing to do with me. I'm prepared for him like I'm prepared for everyone else, and I'm going in. If I see a slight opening, I'll take him out. I'm gonna go for it. You know, he needs quality sparring. That's what he needs. He needs to focus. He needs to stop worrying about everything else. You know, while I'm up at 2, 3 in the morning training, while he's probably still out playing poker. So as far as I'm concerned, you know, I'm hungry. You know, and I'm ready for this. Is he though?
Am I ready? Well, currently no. I'm overweight right now, and
Okay, well, I'm ready now.
you know, I haven't really been in the gym consistently.
Do you know what? I keep hearing excuses.
No, we have 8 weeks.
No, but that's like just this.
We have 8 weeks. So after this press conference, the training camp starts.
Okay, but I'm 3 weeks in already.
The weight cut starts. You know, I'll slow down on the poker if that makes you happy. And
Well, no, when I give you a good beating, I don't want to hear no excuses. Oh, you know, but I was 60%. Oh, you know, but I lost on poker. Oh, but I, you know, I'm at a disadvantage and all that.
There's no excuses, Connor. I'm telling you.
Okay, good then.
Can't beat
Good
me.
then. No excuses, please.
You cannot beat me.
Okay.
So, you know, I'll get down to the rate. I will do that.
Well, so you should.
I'm not going to get fined hundreds of thousands of pounds for being a pound overweight.
Why are you playing that card? You suggested the weight, mate.
It's not a card. I'm just simply saying what are the penalties if I miss the weight. That's all I'm saying. And
To
I'm
be
saying
fair,
that
you do need that money for poker, though, don't you?
Well, you know, let's not get excited.
Listen, man, I'm telling you, and see, you guys are listening to this, right? And you're catching on. I'm glad that I'm seeing the comments. Diana says, I don't know, he don't sound like he want it. Yup. Eubank doesn't sound like he wants it. And William is saying, bet your ass that this was Eddie Germ's idea to sell the fight. Yeah, giving the people something that they don't want and that they don't need. More of the same. My guess is Conor Ben comes out beaten up in this situation because he's fighting a man that's too big for him. Now, the catch weight, which I didn't catch what it's going to be, but Eubank has said that he hasn't fought at that weight since he was 18 years old. Well, this is the thing. If he's too depleted, and he said himself he's going to be about 60% of himself, Why take the fight then? Is it really worth that? You're not your dad. He's not his dad. And there is no reason for this fight whatsoever, people. No reason whatsoever. Why are you going through this? Listen. If something bad happens because the man because he cut too much weight to try to make this happen, if he ends up with an injury or something and can't fight anymore after that, another black eye on the sport of boxing. The Ben family have already been through a tragedy with Nigel when he faced Gerald McClellan. We don't need more of that kind of stuff, man. Ed Hearn should be pulled out of the sport. This would be trying to make James Toney against Roy Jones Jr. Part 2, when they really should have fought each other 20 years ago. But this is what it is. And I'm telling you, you got to be smarter than that in the sport of boxing. Got to be smarter than that.
But, I will make the weight. And, I'm not going to kill myself in this training camp. I always, preparing for fights, I kill myself in these camps. I train like an animal. I spar killers. I'm not doing any of that for this fight because, one, I don't need to, and two, the weight is the main thing for me. Weight cut. I want longevity in the sport, and what a lot of people don't know is that what takes it out of you, what really puts, the miles on the clock is hard training camps. Sparring 3-4 times a week for 8 weeks, that takes a toll on you when you do that for years and years and years. I don't need to do that. I don't need to toll myself for this fight. I just need to make sure I make the weight, make sure I'm fit, make sure I, get up to my 60%, and take care of business,
Chris,
See, that's the thing. I want you guys to understand. And see, Diana, you're saying it right. I'm sitting here, I close my eyes, I'm just listening to this man talk, and it's like, wow, why should we care, right? If you don't care, why should we care? And remember, this is a Matchroom and Ed Hearn promotion here. And I'm pulling this out because I want you guys to understand what we've been saying the entire time about Hearn, these promotions, because earlier this afternoon, Champside, shout out to Champside, let it be known that Hearn is taking the Usyk fight with AJ off of the air in America. Okay? He's taking it off the air. You're going to have to pay a pay-per-view charge, a hefty one at that, if you want to see that fight. Now, is that fight worth a hefty pay-per-view? Hell no, it's not. But see, Hearn has finagled the people, the Matchroom promotional group and the Zone partnership. Remember, it was sold as an app, $9.99 a month or whatever it was when it started out, its inception. Now, they want you to pay pay-per-view for Canelo. They want you to pay-per-view for Triple G. They want you to pay for AJ. Are you serious? Man, stream the hell out of that. I'm telling you. People say, well, I don't want to tell anybody to stream. I'm going to tell you to stream it. Huh? Because why? They robbing you. putting these damn shows on like this where don't nobody care. Why should we care? It's our money. Hearn is a real bad element in the sport of boxing. We need to get this guy away from the fighters, man. It's bad. It's really bad, people. It's really bad. I want to ask you guys, what do you think? Seriously, what do you think? In other news, tomorrow night, broadcast on ESPN, Top Rank Boxing, the return of the takeover. Teofimo Lopez is taking on Pedro Campa. Who? I don't know. In his return to the ring since he had lost to George Kambosos. Teofimo's in a place where now he's moved up to the next weight class, but there are some things that need to be sorted out for Teofimo. The mental strength should definitely be questioned. I'm not certain if Teofimo is 1,000 on the level with mental strength. His physical conditioning, he won't have to cut as much weight, but he's not a true 140-pounder either. These men don't want to get in shape, so they move up to higher weights. Your walk-around weight should be about 12 to 14 pounds heavier than what you fight at. Pedro Campa has been brought in to lay down. This is another top-ranked card where you'll see some of their younger prospects in mismatched bouts, and they might get a couple of scintillating knockouts off of it. But man, aren't you tired of this? Aren't you tired of it? There's just some things that it just don't set well with me. But we're seeing a lot. You have to decide what you're going to support and what you're not. But I'm going to tell you something. The sport could do without a lot of what's being passed around right now. It doesn't have to be this way, people. It doesn't have to be this way. Watcher's in the building. What's good with you, Watcher? Good to see you, bro. Nitty G, what's good with you? Yeah, I have a problem with what they were talking about at that press conference for Eubank and Ben, man. That's just, I don't know. Something not right there. Something not right. You think about it. Yeah, man, I'm gonna get ready to get on up out of here, bro. It's a lot that's happening, but like I said, tonight's show was to focus on why we need to see fighters fight, not this other stuff, man. And I gave great examples of what's really wrong in the sport. Some of them have talked to you personally off of these sound bites and let you know why they shouldn't be participating in sport. And then Hearn trying to make people pay for something that they don't want. Man, it just makes me angry, bro. Makes me too angry. There will be a post-fight show after the fights tomorrow, so I will be doing that. But my goodness, man, none of this is just what I want. None of it. I'm just sitting here reflecting, people. It's like it's tough sometimes to go through this, what they put us through and everything. But thank you everybody for tuning in this evening, man. Smash that like button on the way out if you didn't on your way in. And just know that, we're here, man. We're going to do our best. Peace. Shout out to the mighty LDBC, and we'll catch you guys next week and tomorrow night for the post fight. Enjoy your weekend.